Welcome to my garden. My name is Jean Jacobs, and I have been gardening in this garden for 5 years, but bring 25 years of progressive native plant gardening with me. I have a combination of plants here, predominantly native, about 75% native, and there are some cultivars that are here that are just very much favorites of mine, but they have to be a pollinator in order to be here. So they have to serve a purpose.
And you have a really cool specific type of garden around here called a rain garden. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
First of all, I want to say rain gardens are the easiest thing to do. There's no mystery behind it. Any person can do it. They can be easy, simple, small, large. Lots of literature out there. Easy to do. So on my property, I have 3 rain barrels, plus the water from other parts of the roof have been directed to rain gardens or to other areas that require a little bit more moisture than I currently provide. Capture all the rain off my roof, all of it, to direct it to plants that require a wetter environment. And they can be, as I say, they can be big or small. Don't have to be complicated. You can use easy materials that you can get from your local hardware store. It doesn't have to be expensive. Just a little bit of know-how and a little bit of desire to make it happen. I would encourage everybody to do it. Keep the rain out of the city sewers and out of Coots Bay.
And with the rain barrels, how often do you have to water your gardens now?
I don't water my gardens. Typically, especially this year, I haven't watered my gardens at all. The rain barrel at the front is on a continuous feed. It's because that's the way I did it. So it's attached to a garden hose that goes directly to that garden because that garden is hot and dry. So that gets some flow of water regularly. The rest of the garden, I don't water it. These are all native plants. They grow here. They have an arrangement, an agreement with the environment that they live in. So they're born to thrive. So I don't do that unless the only time I do that is when I plant new ones, and then I carefully water them for the first year.
And how can people find out more about rain gardens?
It's really quite simple. You can Google it. You can just Google rain gardens Hamilton, rain gardens Halton, and that should give you the information that you want for establishing one, how to build one. If you're really keen and really want to dig into it, there are other sites. I personally have gone to the University of Vermont Extension Program, and and they give you everything you want to know about how to do this. I'm sure that information is available here in Ontario. That's just my go-to piece that I like to have.
You have such a truly vast garden. I've heard that you also support several initiatives with your plants. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, indeed. When I first moved here, I became involved with the Hamilton Naturalist Club and worked on different gardens as well as removing invasive species from the gardens in a number of locations. And I continue to do that, but not as much as I used to. More recently was involved in Action 13, which is a group here in Ward 13 of Dundas-Flamborough. And with that group, I was involved with doing a winter sowing workshop project, and that morphed into creating many plants. Winter sowing turned into potting up plants, turned into a large plant sale for that organization, all native plants. And we had 2 full days of sales and netted about $1,000 in native plants and got all those babies out into people's gardens, which was a wonderful thing to do. And of late, I have begun to volunteer with the seed orchard at the Sheila Dooley Nature Sanctuary in Burlington. And these plants that you see behind me are all destined for that marvelous seed orchard. And they were winter sown by a group of volunteers, then came back to me to be fostered here. A group of volunteers potted them up again, and here they sit waiting for planting at the Sheila Dundully Nature Sanctuary Seed Orchard on October 14th.
That's amazing, especially all the plants you've donated and your time that you've donated to so many initiatives. That's fantastic. Are there any final words you'd like to share?
Yes. Although I've talked a lot about native plants, which was my first love in doing this, what I'm more interested in these days are the kinds of birds and insects and mammals that this garden, and reptiles, that these gardens promote. So there are toads in this garden. Occasionally there are foxes in my garden. There are always deer in my garden. I very much enjoy birds, so I call myself an accidental birder. But there are lots of birds that migrate through my garden, from indigo buntings to red-breasted grosbeaks to all kinds of woodpeckers, warblers. And of course, they all need food, and it's more food than I can ever provide for them. So my gardens provide seeds and insects and larvae, worms, bugs, anything that those creatures need to survive. And that's the other part of my garden that I think is as important as the beauty of the flowers.